Morning, everyone. How are you? It is so nice to see all of you here today. We are waiting for the Secretary of State to come in, and as you can imagine, she's got a whole entourage and security and things of that nature. So we are so excited to have all of you here. This is a huge event, as you can imagine. It's the first time, and I would say in the community college system, that we've had a conference just for us. Yes. And over the last 5 years, as you all know, we've had summits online. And so having this first in-person conference is monumental, and it means a lot to all of us who have worked so very hard for our disciplines to have their rightful place in the academy and be recognized as such, especially since the community college system is the largest higher education system in the world. Yes. Yeah, we can give ourselves a round of applause for that. That being said, the Secretary of State is coming up. She is here. She is here. So we will have some brief remarks of welcome from our host institution. Can we give a round of applause to our host institution here at Folsom Lake College? We have this beautiful campus that has welcomed us, and to have this inaugural event here is something that is very, very special that we will document in our history of our system and of our organization. And so, that being said, my name is Dr. Takima Mayasa, and I have the absolute pleasure of being the co-host along with Tammy. Where's Tammy?
Right here.
Here she is, right here.
All right.
Tammy Shashar.
Hi, everybody.
Yes, she is the faculty and chair of ethnic studies here at Folsom Lake College. And for the last year, we have been planning for this event, and with the support of the state that we all got funds from. One of the things Tammy said is we have to have this first conference at my campus. And she has very diligently worked to make sure that we could have this here for a whole year. And so you're seeing the work of love and labor to be here, to welcome all of you here today. And so, and over the next 2 days. So again, without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and start our program. And everybody welcome Tammy Shashar.
Hold on just 1 second. I need to get my notes. All good professors have their notes, right? Is that how that works?
Okay, so we have a couple of changes in our program, and please go with the flow, right? We're just gonna go with the flow because our ancestors are here with us. So in the tradition of all of our peoples, before you do anything, you do a blessing and or a libation. And so before we wanna get started, we wanna do a tribute and acknowledgement to our ancestors. Can you take that out? Yeah. And we use spring water because spring water gives life. Water is life to all things. And so we want to thank Mother, Father, and Yahweh, the creator of all things, for the opportunity to be here together in unity with one another, to get words of wisdom, to collaborate, to continue the work that we've been tasked to do. Ashe? We give thanks to those who are in positions of authority, who have allowed us to take and make this monumental step for our various disciplines, such that we can continue to do the work in service to the people, as over 50, 60 years ago, those of us who were students and community members who demanded that our stories be told. Ashe? And we ask the ancestors to bless this event as we move forward in our growth and development, not only for ourselves, but for our students and the communities that we serve. Those who are here and those who are yet to be born, who will be our future students, so that we do justice and righteousness by them in honor of our ancestors, in honor of our people, and in honor of the experiences that we were meant to be and do. Ashe. And so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Takima, for that. I want to recognize all the hard work that everybody's put into this conference. Some of the people here on the stage and many of my students are out at the registration tables, and they have put so much work in this. My ethics studies, my Native American studies students, so I want to acknowledge that as well. Initially, we had in our agenda Troy Hatch, who is going to be doing a blessing this morning. We are on Anishinaabe, Maidu, and Miwok land. And Troy had a flat tire, so he's not going to make it today. But we did have libations to open us up and to bring our ancestors here, which I'm grateful for. And welcome to Folsom Lake College. I'm going to read a land acknowledgement statement, and it's not going to be FLC's, but I do want to recognize the Anishinaabe, Maidu, and Miwok peoples whose land we're on, and that the Shingle Springs Band of Miwok Indians, this is right over the hill. We are on directly their land. And so I want to do the land acknowledgement statement, not from our college, but from the state, because we're coming from all over the state. And so I wanted to read that. It is actually in your program, and I wanted to read that for you tonight, or today. The days and nights are falling together. Community colleges honors and acknowledges that our 116 campuses throughout the state of California are located in the unceded territories of the 109 federally recognized tribes and the dozens of tribes throughout the state who are seeking recognition. We are committed to supporting the ongoing relationship between these tribes, their ancestral territories, and the resilience, strength, and sovereignty that continues to be demonstrated by California's First Peoples. We affirm our intentions for ongoing relationships with American Indian tribal nations and communities whose ancestral lands we occupy and students we educate. A land acknowledgement is a critical step towards working with Native communities to secure meaningful partnership and inclusion in the stewardship and protection of their cultural resources and homelands. Our institutions were founded upon exclusions and erasure of indigenous peoples. We honor and are grateful for the land we occupy and recognize the ongoing damage of settler colonialism. We commit to pursuing continuous collaborations with the tribal nations of California. We strive to strengthen our awareness of historical and contemporary issues in California, to reckon with our institutional legacy and its impact on the people, lands, waters of this place, which are and always will be inextricable. Oh. So in my community, we say, oh. Thank you. To affirm that. And land acknowledgement statements are really important. They're just not just words on paper. You have to actually take action. And so I want to put that out there. Again, my name is Dr. Tamara Cheshire. I teach Native American Studies here at Folsom Lake College. Han Mashke is hello and welcome in my Lakota language. I'm Lakota. My family's from a Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota. So on that note, I think we're going to go ahead and play arts video. So I'm waving to David in the box back there, and we're going to go ahead and play arts video, and then we're going to have 3 presenters present, and then Dr. Weber will be presenting. Thank you.
Mark Pimentel, and I have the pleasure of serving as president of Folsom Lake College. And it is my absolute sincere pleasure to extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you at the California Community College Ethnic Studies Faculty Council Annual Conference. While I regret that I cannot be physically present with you today, please know that my thoughts are with you as you embark on this journey of exploration, understanding, and collaboration. As I made my way to Washington, D.C. for this year's Sacramento Metro Chamber's annual Cap to Cap trip, advocating for critical issues including the interests of community colleges and our students, I am heartened by the knowledge that you are gathered at Folsom Lake College to engage in meaningful conversations that share knowledge and unite to celebrate and elevate the importance of ethnic studies in our academic and social landscapes. Your presence here today is a testament to your dedication to promoting inclusivity, diversity, and equity in education. I extend my gratitude to the organizers, speakers, and participants who have made this conference possible. As you immerse yourselves in the conference activities, I look forward to the insightful conversations and collaborations that will undoubtedly emerge from your time together here. May this conference be a source of inspiration and empowerment for all in attendance. On behalf of Folsom Lake College, we extend our warmest wishes for a fulfilling and enriching 2 days on our college campus. Thank you again and welcome to Folsom Lake College.
I would like to bring up next Dr. and Dean Lizeth Brazil Cruz. Yes, I've got that right. So if we could have her slide on the screen as well.
Good morning, everybody. Buenos dias. It is a true honor to host you on our campus that is your home today and forever since you are here gathered with us. I want to thank the committee for being part of this great event, being the first annual, and excited to see where we go. I want to just highlight the transformation that you are all doing in your classrooms. We know that ethnic studies has historically been a pillar of social justice and has done the work of recruiting, retaining, and graduating students of color, underrepresented students. My personal journey, I started in a community college, Santa Rosa Junior College, and then I went to UC Davis. When I arrived at UC Davis, I had all of the isms, imposter syndrome. I felt like I didn't belong. I really questioned every single day if my acceptance was true. I was in the quad one day, and Doctora Yvette Flores Ortiz in Chicano Studies asked me my name, and she said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm here, but I want to go home." She took me to her Chicano Studies psychology class. That class, one single sitting in that class, completely transformed my journey. I found an academic home in Chicano Studies. I majored in Chicano Studies. I changed my major at the time. I went on to do a master's in Chicano Studies, and then a PhD, really focused in Chicano Studies. I was a TA in the department. I couldn't leave because it was my home. It was my academic home, and continues to be so. I share this with you because the learnings that are happening in your classrooms just transform different spaces. And now in my role as Dean of Equity Institutional Effectiveness, what I do daily is rooted in what I learned in my department and in the discipline. So I want to thank you all for what you are doing and for the transformation that happens in your classrooms. We are very aware of the power, and we are really hopeful to be able to continue to advocate for resources and funding for the different departments and to grow at our college in this different area. So I just want to thank everybody for being here today, and my sincere gratitude to everybody for participating here in person and being online. And I just wanted to send another thank you from our president, who was checking in this morning to see how it was going, and that he really wishes that he could be here. So muchas gracias, en adelante. Thank you.
Yes, our president is actually in Washington, D.C. right now, doing some lobbying himself, which is amazing. The next person I'd like to bring up is Dean Dr. Calvin Monroe, and he is Student Services, and I apologize, Elizabeth, I didn't touch your title. I didn't take your title. I'm sorry.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Folsom Lake College. We're really happy to have you. My name is Dr. Calvin Monroe. I'm the Dean of Student Services. And similar to Dr. Brazil Cruz, I started at a community college as well, Cosumnes River College. Yes, and I didn't know what to do at the time, right? But I took Intro to African American Studies. And interestingly, it was taught by a white man. And even though I've never taken a class, I walked in like, man, who's this guy going to tell me about my history? And this man, his name was Dr. Jason Newman, and the passion and the information and the truth is what hooked me. like I became angry after learning what I didn't learn in K through 12. And I knew there was some things, but when I got the full truth, it changed, right? It changed me. And so, similar to the last speaker, I decided to change my major to African American Studies. And you know, a lot of the black faculty and staff at Columbus River College, they had said, you know, Sac State is great, UC Davis is great, but why don't you go to Atlanta, Morehouse College? And as a student, as a broke student, I was like, I can't go there. What am I gonna do? I can't. So I actually went, they took me on one of the HBCU college tours, and I fell in love with the place. And even now I tell students, just go and look and see it and smell it, right? Because when you're here in California, you think that black folks of color aren't doing much. We're not at the top. We're not moving and shaking. When you go there, every person of color, right? You can find something everywhere. And so again, I was hooked. And so, you know, with that major, it was beautiful. I got into Teach for America. They said they needed black male teachers, and they do. Those kids, they ate me up. Like, I couldn't believe it. And I just realized that, all right, behavior management is not for me from 11 to 13-year-olds. And, you know, it was challenging. And, you know, I realized, I said, you know, Calvin, like in the classroom, I said, you're doing the same things that like white professors do, which is get out of my classroom, go see the principal, and then they get suspended. And I'm like, whoa, Calvin, you gotta either love the students or go somewhere else. And so it was there I enrolled at Georgia State University. Again, eager to learn more. I got my master's in African American Studies as well. And that was a beautiful thing as well. And so when I came home to California, you know, first generation, my family didn't know who I was. They just knew that. They knew who I was when I left, but now I have this brain, and I'm talking different, I'm walking different. And so that was an interesting thing. And so at St. Mary's College of California in 2022, I earned my doctorate in educational leadership. And I find the two to be a really beautiful blend, educational leadership and African American studies, because I can remember being the advisor of the Black Student Union and saying, you know, everything's gonna be fine. You know, I know you can't pay for school, or I know this is going on, but everything will be okay. And then policy comes down and cuts their scholarship, and then I couldn't say much. And so earning that doctorate was the key to being inside of those meetings to ensure that policies are equitable and that they are thinking of students of color. So here at Folsom Lake College, I wanted to share something. Dr. Tammy mentioned about action, right? So as Dean of Student Services, I like to take action. Can you all raise your hand if you know your Dean of Student Services on your campus? Okay, most folks do. Utilize that individual, right? So I work closely with ethnic studies. We house in our Equity Center many of our affinity groups and grants, like our Native American Student Support grant, our APITA grant. We don't yet have a Umoja on this campus, but one of our employees did something beautiful. They knew that our black students needed extra support, and they created BASE, B-A-S-E, Black African Student Educulture. And so even with minimal funding, we were able to support all of our students of color. So while you're here, we hope that you all can network, enjoy our facilities, learn something new, make a new friend. So we are happy to have you, and thanks so much for coming.
Thank you, Calvin. You're really tall. That's okay. That's okay. The next person I'd love to introduce is Paula Cardwell. She is our past Academic Senate President for Folsom Lake College and our current District Academic Senate President, and she's here to welcome you as well. Come on up, Paula.
I am so honored to be here with you today. I appreciate you having me and the warm welcome I've received from everybody today. I would do anything for this woman. So when she said, hey, Paula, we're doing this amazing thing. Can you be there? I was like, heck yeah, I can be there. I wouldn't miss it for anything. Tammy and I go way back. When I was Senate President here at Folsom Lake College, this was about 2020. I was in a closet, Zooming from the closet because I had 2 college students and a high school student, and everyone's Zooming at the same time from the house. So I took that space where old luggage and weird stuff went to die, and I cleaned it out, put a little office in there, and she and I had so many phone calls and Zoom sessions, and she was explaining to me the need and the process by which we could, at Folsom Lake College, establish an ethnic studies department. And, you know, I spent a lot of time in governance and Senate, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's a process, we can do this. And she was like, Paula, there's some things you don't understand. There's some history here that I need to educate you on a little bit. It was horrifying, quite frankly. There are many things that chap my rear end, but faculty on faculty violence is probably the one that gets it the most when I see faculty kind of pitted against one another. And what she described to me is this institutional resistance to ethnic studies. So I was like, why? Why? This woman broke it down for me. And so then it became my mission. I was like, we're going to do this. We are going to absolutely make this happen, and we're going to help it happen all across the district. And I was very fortunate. This guy at San Diego State University, I'd never heard of him before. His name was Luke Wood. And he had put together this tremendous package of reforms for senates, for college senates. And I got a hold of that list, and I was like, we doing everything on this list. We're doing everything on this list. And I was very fortunate. I took it back to my Senate and I said, guys, we're doing everything on this list. And they said, hell yeah, we're doing everything on this list. And so we have tried, and I continue to try to infuse in Los Rios those values. Not just, I was very blessed to start at Folsom Lake College, where folks are so receptive to this, and spread it throughout the district. And we continue that work together. And I have to tell you, I had a glimmer. Do you guys know what a glimmer is? Many, okay. You just get that glimmer every now and then. Something comes through the clouds, comes through the noise. And I had a glimmer this morning, and I was sitting here, and I was like, okay, that's nice, but do you share this? And I think I need to share it with you. My middle name is Zamorano, and that comes from my 3rd great-grandfather, Agustin Zamorano, who came to California in 1825, and he served, California belonged to Mexico back then, he served as Secretary of State under Governor Figueroa. And when Dr. Weber walked in and sat down next to me, I got this glimmer. I was like, whoa, this is so cool. 200 years later, I'm sitting next to the Secretary of State for the state of California. So I just thought, I got to share that glimmer with y'all. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for fighting the good fight that sadly, for some reason, we have to fight for ethnic studies, but we are going to continue that. And we are going to crush it. We're absolutely going to keep making progress and doing the things that need to be done for all the reasons that Lisette and Calvin talked about. Our students need this. Our state needs this. Our country needs this education. I cannot thank you enough for the work that you are doing. And if you ever need help with your Senate, or getting something through, or knocking down some bullcrap process that is getting in your way, please reach out, talk to me. I will do everything in my power to help you, or that doesn't come, to work with you to knock that stuff down. Thank you. It's an honor to be here today.
Thank you, Paula, and thank you everyone for being here. I'm going to bring up Dr. Takima Mayasa again, and she's going to introduce the Secretary of State. And I'm going to take your spot.
I just want to briefly mention that in addition to the 66 of you who had registered to be here in person today, that we have another 40 colleagues online who are with us, and so they're with us in spirit here, and so we don't see them, but we know that they're here with us. And that's important because we want to acknowledge everybody who's here. Once the job is once begun, never leave it till it's done. Do the job big or small, or do it well. Do it well or not at all. My father used to say those words to myself and my siblings. I'm the oldest of 4. And everything that we did, my father was the first in his family to go to college as a family man. And my mother used to tell all of us that her name should be on every one of our diplomas because she did the work to help us get there. And when I got my doctorate degree and Dr. Weber installed me, I made sure that I had a degree with my name and hers on there. And she has on her wall, right? Because it's important to know that we don't get here by ourselves. And so I'm not going to take a long time, but in your programs that you all have, there's a full layout of Dr. Weber in terms of who she is and what she's done. And I'll just summarize it by this because we're here to hear her and what she has to say for us and to us. And that is this. When I, 40 plus years ago, as a young person went to San Diego State, Dr. Weber was my first Black Studies teacher. And as someone who went to, yes. My parents thought that private school was the answer. So I was one of those, you could say, who was fortunate enough to go to private school. And I did well, but it wasn't enough. And my colleague, Dr. Starla Lewis, she should be doctor, right? Right here, raise your hand, right? She taught me also that the first key to success is knowledge of self and self-love. And we've heard here from panelists already, from our guest speakers right here, that knowing who you are and what you can do is the motivation that takes you through anything that you experience. And so when we look at the work that the Secretary of State, Dr. Shirley Weber, has done, she was the first person I had seen as a Black woman with power and authority who represented her authentic self. She had a big afro, and I was like, ooh, I want to be like that. But Dr. Wade Noble says, don't be Asa, do Asa. Don't be Dr. Weber or Dr. Massa or Dr. Shasher. Be you. Do the work. Do the work. And she's a perfect example of that work. As somebody who was nominated in 2020 to be the Secretary of State and then elected by the people. And she is a woman of the people. I've worked with her in San Diego when she was a school board representative, many late nights, and went through the ranks. And when she retired, 3 times they tried to recruit her to go into the assembly. And then the last time she said, okay. So, but the point here is, and when you read her bio, as a woman who comes from humble means, and as a woman who's had some experiences, who graduated from some of the best institutions at Cal State, UCLA, right? And getting her doctorate degree at 26 years old, and then serving the community and being on the assembly 4 terms, et cetera, et cetera. The last thing I want to say is this: we have to develop the whole self. And our story as ethnic studies faculty is not a story just of social justice. We have to do social justice because of the impositions of others who do not value who we are. Ethnic studies says we are here. We are valuable. And we contribute to this world, and it's the holistic development of ourselves and our students and the different lens that they bring to our human beingness. That was what we do. And that's what we're learning. And that's what we're sharing. And the Secretary of State, who is an example of that, as the first African-American woman, right, the Secretary of State, first African-American Secretary of State in California, and one of only 5 African-American officials in the state of California's history of 173 years. But more importantly, I want to just bring out is that she's been on multiple committees, budget committees. She has chaired, she was a member and the president of the Black Caucus. And all of these things, we can learn from her example. I thought, and I'll end with this, I thought it was just enough to want to teach. And what I learned is it's not enough to just want to teach. you have to also have people in places and spaces who can advocate. And some of us do that better than others. And if you know how to do it, then we have to do it so that we can teach what we know is good and positive for all students. She has been that example to me. And I stand here before you as a doctor because of people like her who believed in us, who fought for us, all students, and the quality of education. That's what we're fighting for, to be our whole selves, not just for a place to have a career. And so ethnic studies is about, if you know who you are and what you're capable of, you can do anything, anywhere, at any time. Because if other people don't give you a job, you can create your own. You can create your own experience because you know who you are and you know where you come from, and your ancestors are going to guide you because you found your purpose. That's what we're doing and fighting for all students. And these are the examples. We're the examples of that. So ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand for Dr. Shirley Weber, the Secretary of State of California, the greatest state in the United States.
Good morning. Great. This is a good group. You're responding. That's wonderful. Sometimes I have to say it 3 times before people know they have the right to speak. I am honored to be here today because I see so many people who have purpose in their life and have decided that that purpose is greater than them, and it's all about others and how we interact with each other and what power we have to basically change the world. I'm so proud of Takima and Starla, who were once students of ours at San Diego State when I first went there to teach at 23 years old, and wasn't sure what I was going to do. I thought I was going to go there for 1 year. That was my goal, my plan. I told them I would give them a year of my life to help build a department. And 40 years later, I finally got a chance to retire. And that didn't go very well because as soon as I retired, others were knocking at my door to run for the assembly and to do some other things that I initially decided I didn't need to do. I felt I had done enough, and it was my time to take care of myself. But it was difficult times in California at the time, and as a result, I realized that there was still much work to be done at the state level with regards to education, what was happening to our universities, how they were dismantling programs and funding and a host of other things that I thought would be the death of California. Because the beauty of this state is not only its amazing people, but its amazing institutions. It is one of the few states, and maybe the only state in the union, where you can actually go to college and not break the bank. You know, that we have our community colleges that are affordable, our CSUs that are still relatively affordable, and those degrees and those programs are second to none. And so I know that those are power places because I'm a kid who was a sharecropper's daughter, first generation college, and ended up with 3 degrees from the University of California and only paid $1,250. So I know that California has the ability to do what it needs to do for its children. And they have obviously benefited from my existence and my degrees over and over again in terms of the service to the state. So I got trapped into being a legislator, and then obviously trapped into being Secretary of State, nominated by friends who I thought were friends. But it's been a good ride, and I realized that, like so many of us, that we start one thing, because like I said, when I went to San Diego State, I was only supposed to be there a short while, and then go back and finish my doctorate. I ended up finishing the doctorate while I was there. But you have no idea exactly where you're going to go until you start that road, and you realize that there are doors and places and avenues that you had never thought about before. And all of a sudden those things open up to you, but you're prepared for them because you have educated yourself. You've done the work, you've done the experience, you've been in those battles with so many, And I realized that everything I learned at the Academic Senate at San Diego State and all of the gazillion committees I served on at San Diego State University prepared me for the legislature to do the things that I thought were important and to get things done that nobody else had been able to get done. I had fought for years for ethnic studies as a requirement and never could get it done. And I think part of it was because those who were fighting more from an intellectual perspective, and I was fighting from the heart, because I had been there and done that and knew what was required. And I had seen the power of ethnic studies in the lives of not only my students, but I've even seen it in the lives of the legislatures when we have talked about where they came from. And almost every person of color sitting in the legislature has had ethnic studies in their background. That when they stand up and talk, when we've had hearings, all of them said, I would have dropped out of college had I not gone to ethnic studies, had I not done something in Chicano studies or Africana studies or wherever it was, that somehow or another that gave me purpose, that gave me a reason to exist, and that drives my legislation and the things that I do. So it's good to be with you today, and knowing that that you're here for the first in-person conference, which is always an amazing thing. We forget about the impact of COVID on all of our lives, you know, and we sometimes forget the fun of being in person too. You know, we're so programmed to be, as my kids would say, I don't want to see any more of those little boxes on the screen. They're tired of looking at boxes when they had to take classes. They just didn't want these people in the box. They wanted some real people. And we forget sometimes the power of just the personal contact, the smile that you see that's so different than when you're sitting in a box on a Zoom call. And there are too many other things around that distracts you, so you're focused, but you're not that focused on what is taking place. So it's good to be with you, be in person, and I know this is the beginning of many others. I look forward to when you come to San Diego and can participate in all the activities and the campuses there, and have our students also participate and be a part of you. You know, these are, ethnic studies is a long history, and it's been my honor to be a part of that long history for so many years. I've met probably all of the folks who started ethnic studies in the Bay Area, those individuals who fought so hard for it and who suffered for it. And that's one of the reasons why it's so important that we study that history of ethnic studies, because sometimes our students think that we just decided we was going to do ethnic studies one day. Everybody applauded, gave us classrooms, and decided that our curriculum was worth valuing and adding it a part of everything else. And we forget that there were some battlegrounds that were there, and we sometimes forget that there were some people along the way who lost their jobs, their careers, and their reputation as a result of fighting for ethnic studies. And we should never forget that, because we're in a battle right now for ethnic studies. And if we think that just because somebody across the world who has never attended a course, who barely knows his own history, can then decide that we don't have history and that we should not exist, doesn't mean we should stop fighting. And I hope you have the spirit to fight, because this is worth fighting for. You know, when one of the things when I went to San Diego State, I was only supposed to be there, like I said, for a short period of time. I had only agreed to do certain classes that I was going to do. And I had no idea that we were actually, when we were recruited to come, I had no idea we were participating in this grand project to basically build a department, that we were building this plane while we were flying it. None of us had degrees in ethnic studies, none of us. We had had some training in ethnic studies with regards to maybe a class. My mentor was Malefi Asante, the author of Afrocentricity, so I had a good grounding in some courses that he took, and he was my mentor and followed me through. In fact, I talked to him the other week. I still talk to Malefi. And so we had no idea that that's what we were doing. We were brought in and just told that, and were given tenure track positions and all that good stuff to make sure we'd be stable. But we had no idea that we were actually building a Black Studies department until after we got there and had a couple of meetings, and it was like, oh, this is something different than what we said we were coming for, okay? And so it became really interesting because we then had to up our game. We had to basically understand what the students had done to get us there. They had protested at the university. They'd thrown a fire trash can into the president's office or whatever it was, and all those things because they had had an ethnic studies somewhat program project, but they didn't have a department. And therefore it was unstable, and every time they was cutting and cutting and it wasn't growing, and people were very frustrated in San Diego, in the community, about what was happening with ethnic studies. So we grew out of a demand, and people need to understand that. It was a battle on the campus, and we were brought in to fight the battle. And interestingly enough, a lot of people decided they were not warriors, that they were not going to fight this battle. And in fact, many of my colleagues who were there with us, who came in, told me that I should not spend time wasted on ethnic studies, that this would not be a profitable experience, that you would actually have to eventually lose your job, you would go away, and that you should start looking for stuff now. And most of them did. And so there were a few of us who thought, I think I'll hang in here and see if this is really real, if this is true. And it became a battle, a real battle, because everyone was not in it for the same thing. Some people saw it as an opportunity to come into the university because they had been trying to get to the university, to the ivory tower, and they couldn't get there. So ethnic studies became their way of getting in. And once they got in, they figured out how to get into another department. We had that happen often. They decided they would rather go and be in this department full-time and maybe have ethnic studies as just an interest, that they could teach a class because it was academic, but they didn't have to commit to anything. And so we lost a lot of faculty that way. And it was interesting, at the 50th anniversary of Africana Studies at San Diego State, I had a reception at my home to remind some of those that were still here, you know, that it did work, and that many of them left and went to other places, not better and not more prosperous either. But it was interesting that we had basically devalued ourselves so much that the only way we could get into the white institution was to go through the black door, believing that the black door would be flawed or locked eventually. And so as a result, they didn't have the same interest nor the same passion for ethnic studies. And they didn't see it as a career builder. They saw it as a career ender. And so there were a lot of my friends along the way that I still see who decided that it was more profitable to major in psychology or be in the psychology department or the music department or the literature department rather than being in Africana studies. And many of them went that route, and then obviously when they went up for tenure, they had nobody on their committee who could speak good of them, who could say the work they was doing was valuable, that it's okay to write articles about black writers. No one on that committee could say that because they had moved to another department, and we were not a part of that evaluation. And several of them had to leave as a result of that. But we were supposed to be a career ender, not a career promoter. When we began ethnic studies some years ago, and everyone can tell their horror stories or their stories of pain and difficulty, the power lied in our ability to relate to our community. And I tell that to all people. They ask me all the time, how did you survive ethnic studies and be so crazy at the same time? And they didn't eliminate you. I said, because the people in San Diego were my force. They were our community. They knew us by name. We did programs in the community. We did graduations at the Jackie Robinson Y. We did things with Bayview Baptist Church. We did things in the community so that the community knew that if they needed us, we would be there. And so when we needed them, they decided they would be there. And it's extremely important that you understand that, because none of this stuff will exist if you don't have a force behind you. You'll be picked off, and you'll be either shrunk down into nothingness or become an ineffective group. Build your community. Build the students that are there, but most importantly, acknowledge those folks who live in your community, who work every day, who made it possible for you to be these academic people. Build your community. If you don't, they will crush you. I remember when I was leaving San Diego State and retiring, and we had a desire to have an additional faculty member to replace me after 40 years. Someone should come and replace me. They didn't want to give us another faculty position. And we've been asking and asking, and for years we would, fall in this category where we wouldn't get this position. And so I thought, well, at least I'm leaving. They have a position to give, and they didn't want to give it to us. And it was really quite interesting because I decided we had a meeting to talk about it, and I brought in all the staff and faculty on the campus, black faculty, to come and talk about, for them to understand that we were getting ready to take some action. And our action was fairly simple. We had decided we was going to boycott the invocation that the president was having on campus that year, and that we would also go to bring in our black community and help them to understand that the president should never be invited to their churches again. Okay. Because they were running in and out of our churches, talking about the wonderful stuff they were doing at San Diego State, but yet they weren't hiring anybody. And it was funny because we always invite people who go back and tell. So that person went back to tell the president what we had done and what I had said. And he was stunned, and he goes, "Oh my God, will she do that?" And the person said, he said, "Can she do that?" And he said, "Not only she can do that, she will do that." And it was really kind of funny. It was hilarious, because then the guy came back and told me what he told the president. I mean, he was a dual agent. And so in 2 days, we got our position. And I got a call from the president's office and says, "Well, are you guys coming to the invocation?" I said, "No, I don't have that kind of interest." I said, "But we won't protest you." Because we were not only going to be protesting there, we were going to also keep the faculty who didn't want to cross a line of other faculty from going in. And so we were going to make his invocation very unsuccessful. But it was interesting that we had to assert ourselves like that. And then someone in one of the faculty meetings or one of the dean's meetings was saying, well, some people use their power and influence to get positions where other people just, have to work for them. I said, well, other people are also on the committee that makes the decision too, and as a result consistently deny our request. So I make no apologies for having to basically bully you folks into doing the right thing. This is real. This is us. This is what we have done. I said, and we came into existence in this environment. Don't think that 20 years ago you folks welcomed us. You did not. We fought 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and we fight today. And so it is extremely important that we continue to understand the history of ethnic studies, because if you don't understand it, you will be very disappointed. You will be devastated over what you see. That it's not uncommon for people not to value ethnic studies. And many of them have stopped bugging us because they realize, it's not worth it anymore. It's not worth it raising those issues. It's not worth it pushing the agenda because it brings out too much other stuff, because you've organized your community. And so therefore, they'll give you a department, because in the scheme of things of how much money it costs, your upset and what have you is much greater than the money that they give you. And so you need to understand that as you're pushing forward, that there will always be some resistance. And as soon as you slip, that resistance you will find yourself in a difficult position, whether it's women's studies, Chicano studies, Native American studies, it doesn't matter which one it is. There's always someone who would like to have your position. When I came to the legislature, and I realized that I was going to fight a battle for ethnic studies, to make sure that ethnic studies was required at all the universities. And the one thing I did every year consistently, every year during Black History Month, there was always a resolution on the floor of the assembly concerning ethnic studies and Black history and why it was so important. And the Black Caucus would sponsor it, and each one of us would get up and talk about the importance of it. Every time I got up, I would talk about the importance of Black studies and the role it plays in improving California, improving others, those kinds of things. And I always talked about the power of ethnic studies and why it was so important and how much it cost California because we don't have ethnic studies. I remember when the movie came out concerning those Black women in space, Hidden Figures. I asked them the question, I said, we just passed a bill that has millions of dollars to teach our young girls that they should love science and math, the STEM education. I said, well, what a wasted experience we've had, because here we have these individuals who basically were responsible for going to the moon, for going into space, Black women who knew math and science. And yet these kids knew nothing about it, so they always thought this was something that men did, something that white men did, that was foreign to them. If we had told our history, they would feel that they were the masters of math and science. So think of all the money we've wasted because we have not done the right thing in telling the correct history of math and science and its relationship to women. And so I did those presentations every year so that when I finally introduced the bill to bring ethnic studies to the university, it was unanimous in terms of our houses. They supported it. Many of them stood up and spoke about it and passed it in both houses. And so it was important that we had laid the groundwork for this to happen. And I think, when I think back about it, and we have tried for years when I was in the assembly, and when I was at the university, to bring ethnic studies to the House. It was a deaf ear. I remember once that we were supposed to fly to Sacramento to make a statement in front of one of the education committees about basically having ethnic studies required. And nobody showed up. I mean, even the author didn't come. I was like, what is this? You know, he didn't show up. He didn't think it was going to get any legs, and it didn't. And it didn't grow at all, and it didn't get any attention. And I thought, I'm not going to do that. They're going to be ready for us when we come. We're going to give them the information they need. We're going to give them the training they need. We're going to give them the knowledge they need. We're going to show them the value of ethnic studies and how it enhances California's growth and development. And that's critically important. You are currently faced with a challenge, and I know I don't even have a clock or anything down here. No, my staff will get me in a minute. They'll walk up here and snatch me off. But anyway, because we're supposed to be heading out. But, you know, we're faced with a challenge right now, and it's really, it comes at a time when we have just fought and we believe we won a battle. This year will be the year that those who are required to take ethnic studies graduate from the CSU. This is the experience. This is what we've been waiting for. This is what we've been planning for and preparing for young people to understand who they are and have that as a part of their curriculum and help them to grow and develop, because we've all seen how it impacts our lives. And so this is supposed to be our hallelujah moment. And what are we faced with? The woke people, the DEI anti-folks, the this, the that want to get rid of all ethnic studies in the nation, all knowledge of self. It's unbelievable. But if you believe that knowledge is power, then what you're doing is taking away the power of those who are different, who could make a difference, who could enhance what we're doing. And then the question becomes, have we remembered what the battle was? That's why I think it's so important you understand how hard it was for guests to get to this point. Like I said, when I did the bill concerning ethnic studies, it looked like it was an easy walk, but I had been 5 or 6 years talking about it and 40 years working on it. And when we talk about reparations, we've been there for 40-something years. People say, how long did it take you to get the reparations bill? 6 months. Because we had been talking about reparations and those kinds of things in the legislature for a while. And so while people were fighting over it somewhere else on the East Coast, we were working to get it done here in California. And now that it's done, people want to ask, why? What do you need it for? And it's only because someone has come along who doesn't have the knowledge that we have, who has not had the experience and the commitment, that is trying to take it away, because that is our voice. That is our identity. That is our strength. You know, that is who we are. And I often tell people, when I've done some bills like racial profiling and things like that, and they were difficult bills, and I had forces pushing against me to do it, and I end up taking the hardest route because I felt it would be the greatest impact upon us. And interestingly enough, somebody this week is trying to undo my bill 10 years later, and we're fighting that because they've been empowered to try to kind of do that. But the thing that I told people ask me, why did you choose to make it a mandate rather than a suggestion. And I thought about it, and I went back to my apartment that night from the legislature, and I had to make a decision the next morning. I said, and what I thought about was the people in Selma. And I thought about that hill that they had to take, the bridge they had to take. And I realized that these folks didn't even know what was on the other side of the bridge. They had no support. There were no officers protecting them. There were no people who were going to help them. And yet they took the bridge anyway. And I said, so when you think about that, and I realized what I was basically putting out there was my word, my reputation, all those things that would have been minor for them. And yet they took the bridge anyway. And I think when I think about these battles that we fight, it's important that our kids know their history. They know how long it took to get here, and they knew how much people fought for it. And we have to think in those terms so that when we have to face the monster and we have to make decisions about what is happening on our campuses and our academic freedom, you know, we see these things and we think, oh, that's someone else. Well, think about it. If they can remove you from this campus because they don't like what you say, none of those people like what I said. None of them when we were fighting. But at least we had the foundation of the courts and the judges and everybody else that would stand for our academic freedom, that would stand for our right to speak out. And so we have to understand that this is serious business, because without some of those things, there's no way we could have actually fought effectively if we had not put the foundation in place. It is critically important that you make sure that what we're doing right now matters, that it counts, that you're organized. The one thing we must always do is we stay organized, not get organized, but stay organized. Even in good times, it's important to stay organized, because it will come so quickly, you don't have time to make a call. You don't have time to have people reorganize their schedule to be here with you. And so it is critically important that as we talk about where we are, I can tell you that there are efforts to unravel everything that we've ever thought about doing. All of the things that happen in the schools, the things that are happening in our K-12, our post-secondary. There are folks who would like to take our positions away. There are few who understand it, and that's why it's so important, if you've got a president who understands it, that you don't fight him over minor stuff, because this is critical stuff. And people will give you minor issues, and you get all upset over it and not want to support him, and as a result, they will take him out, and you will end up with a worse situation than you've ever seen before. Sometimes you have to prioritize what you're doing. And maintaining your departments, maintaining your sense of self, maintaining understanding where we are, sometimes it is extremely important. It takes a higher call than some of the other stuff that we're involved in. We don't have time to fight about little things, because folks are trying to take everything you have away. So I just simply want to say, I see my people walking. Let me just say that, you know, this is a journey that has been worth it for so many of us. And it's been worth it for the young people that I see every day. I'm often just excited when I see my students, and there are a lot of them at the Capitol who are doing good work, who are working on issues that are important to all of us. Some of them are running programs. There were one student at San Diego State that bring in young folks that are interns. And everywhere I go, I run into my students. I guess we were Ireland the other day, and someone called my name. And I turned around, and there was one of our students in Ireland. And my security said, "Do you know everybody?" I said, just about, not everybody. But we've seen them in Egypt, we've seen them everywhere. And it's great to see my students when I'm in conferences and places that I've seen that are now running programs, running campuses, fighting the good fight. And we must support them and continue to do so. This is serious, and I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you have a conference that's here, that you're organized, and that you've been organized for the last few years. Stay organized. You have to be organized in order to fight this. And you must utilize all the resources you have in terms of your former students, other faculty members, others that are there, keeping them informed that this is serious. that we need this and that they have a role to play. And I always tell young people, you know, when I was teaching, when I was in the classroom all the time, and we'd be talking about, oh, you know, some major movements that was going on and things in this, with civil rights and what have you in the South and sharecroppers, what have you. And my students all say, yeah, if I was there, Dr. Weber, I'd be kicking butt, taking names. I'd be doing this, I'd be that, you know. Okay, now is your be that, okay? Now is your time. Now is your time to put in your be that what you need to do, because the rest of us have been be that all the time, okay? We have been there, done that. And now I tell young people, I hope you have the strength and the perseverance and the determination to move forward on this. That you don't give up and you don't give out and you don't give in. Amen. You've always told me what you're going to do if you had been a slave. Oh, man, you'd have been liberated day one, okay? If you had done this, you would have had all these people organized. Now is your moment. This is your time. And the time when we've been waiting for you to stand up, take charge, and understand that this is a battle. They often say when the South African proverb says that when you get to heaven, God is going to ask you, show me your arms. And if you show your arms, and he's going to look at it at perfect and beautiful arms that never had to stress too much. He's going to say, where's your scars? And you'll look around and say, was I supposed to have scars? And he'd say, is there not anything in life worth fighting for? And that's it. So hopefully when you get there, he won't ask you a question because you'll be all beat up. Your scars will be most apparent that you have fought the good fight and you won some and lost some, but he will have no question about what you've been doing with your life. Thank you so much.
We felt that it would be remiss of us, in light of what you've just heard, not to honor this woman for the example that she has given to us about fighting the good fight. Power is the ability to define a reality and have other people respond to that reality as if it were their own. And Dr. Weber, you have shown us and the world what true power is, that we have the power to make change. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I share with you this award. We are giving Dr. Weber the first Visionary Award from our organization. Isn't it beautiful? We chose a flame because she reminds us that the fight continues, right? And within this flame, you see these wonderful threads and how she has connected all of us through her thought, words, and deeds. And I know the ancestors are very proud of her and the work that she's done and the inspiration that she has given all of us to do the work that we are here to do. And so on the bottom of it, it says Visionary Award presented to Dr. Shirley Weber from the California Community College Ethnic Studies Faculty Council 2025 Spring Conference. And what's different about this award is not only that it's a flame, but on the very back we have Adinkra symbols. These African symbols that represent the quality of education, love for one another, and fighting the good fight. And so, Dr. Weber, thank you.
I have one more gift. I met Dr. Shirley Weber at what was it? We were at the, where everybody meets, the 21st and K Street or something like that down there?
Yes.
And we were meeting with the CSUs because they were giving us trouble over the CSU area. And Dr. Weber was there advocating for us. And she saw the necklace I was wearing that day, and she goes, Tammy, this is a beautiful necklace. And so I got a local artist, Ava Ellingson, who is a local Native artist, to make this for her. And a necklace is not good without earrings, so there's a pair of earrings.
Gorgeous. Thank you so much. I'm really honored. This is a beautiful plaque, and it'll go in my office here in Sacramento, but I really appreciate what you've done. I know this is hard work, and like I said, after I've been in the battle so long, and I'm still fighting the battles, because as I told someone, I'm trying to undo every bill I did for 8 years right now in the legislature. And so, but the good thing is that as I'm fighting those battles to keep those bills alive, my students and those who work for me are watching those bills from across the state and are leaning into it and are doing things, because the organizations they now run are social justice organizations. And so when I get a notice, it's usually from one of them saying, there's somebody that has your bill on the floor and they're trying to get rid of it. And so it's nice to know that they're fighting still, that they understand that the fight is forever, that you never give up and then they never go away. And so while we're fighting, you think, why are we doing this again? This is your life work. You will fight all of your life to maintain your sense of dignity, your sense of purpose, and to protect your community and your families. So don't think this ends. There may be a love time, but it is coming back, so get prepared for the next war. But thank you so much.
And I just want to just add this one last thing, and that is, people have asked, at least me, what can you do with a degree in ethnic studies, right? And I proudly stand before them and say, you can become the Secretary of State. You can become the President of the United States, because Barack Obama took classes in Black Studies too, at a community college. But it's inspired. You could do anything, as Professor Lewis reminds me and all of our students. You can do anything that you wanted to do because you know who you are and you have self-love. You know the power of self-love. So thank you.
Thank you all. We got to get
So does anybody know what time it is? 10:07. Hey, we're doing good for time. We're actually early. So let me check the schedule real quick. By the way, if you notice, we do have a live schedule in our Google Drive, and there's also a QR code that you can scan out at the tables. We really want to thank Dr. Weber for coming, and for our honored guests for being here to present to you, to welcome you to Folsom Lake College. So happy that you are here with us today. And there are a number of us. There are about 65 of us here. So this conference is for us to work together, to talk with each other about the difficulties we're having and the good things we're doing, and just be with each other. Because not often do we get a chance to be with each other, with other ethnic studies people, with other African American studies, Black studies, Chicano studies, right? Native American studies. I'm looking out there and I'm seeing a couple Native American studies people that I haven't spent some time with and I really need to spend some time with. Because we need that to rejuvenate ourselves. Because of the fight, right? Dr. Weber said the fight's never going to be over. So we've got to be there for each other, okay? So I'm really grateful for this opportunity to meet with you all today. And so let's see. I don't have my other glasses on. I'm one of those professors who switches out the glasses because I can't do the bifocal thing. So if you know what I'm talking about. I believe what we're going to do next is we're going to have a break. So we're going to have a little bit of an early break, so I'll give you a little bit of extra time. But I do want to tell you what's going on next in the schedule. We are going to be having a caucus, the 4 caucuses, and a working lunch. So the 4 caucuses are for the 4 core, plus we're having a specific AO and counselors meeting as well. And I wanted to make sure you knew where those were going to be. We're going to have students in the lobby helping you to get to those workshop rooms. They're all across campus. And if you got your email from me, you do have a campus map. So, but the students are here to help you. And I also have my faculty hosts here who are hosting each one of the rooms. If I could have Hugo stand up and say hello. Hugo's back here. Hi, Hugo. Hugo is located in, which room are you located in, Hugo? FL5, FL5013. And then Walter, Walter Kawamoto, can you stand up or say hello? Walter is in FL4 232. Now, if you need to take an elevator, it's a strange campus. I don't know if you've already noticed, but we are in a circle. And I don't know if you noticed, our campus is in a big circle. And so we have one elevator shared with FL4 and FL5. So if you need an elevator to get to the second floor of FL4, you need to go to FL5 and take that elevator up. I just want to make sure you know that that's available to you. Otherwise, you got a couple flights of stairs going on. The next room is going to be Zainab. Zainab, where are you? Zainab, can you stand up? Zainab is our local host, and that's for FL2. So if you know these people and you're going to follow them around, and then I have Monique. Monique is in Harris Center 1062. And so everybody can follow Monique. That's in this building, and we'll just go to down this hallway over here. And then Libby Cook. Libby, are you here? Where's Libby? Is she out in the hall? Okay, so Libby's out in the hallway. She's probably going to walk you all to the Equity Center, which is in FL1, and that's a trek across campus. So because this is a circular campus, we have the Harris Center on one side, and then if you go, what's the math word of a circle? You're going in the middle of the radius. Is that the word I'm looking for? Is that the, okay, I did not major in math. So you go across campus, and it's essentially you're going to the Equity Center in FL1. And it's a beautiful center, and I'm happy you'll be able to be there to be in those meetings. There is one more thing that I wanted to mention. Before you go, because it is a working lunch, our caterer, Lunchbox Express, Anna McCaw has prepared our lunches, our sandwiches, our sandwich boxes for us. In your sandwich box, you're going to get some goodies. She's prepared that. And in each one of these breakout rooms, you're going to have drinks available to you, additional coffee, tea, water, and snacks as well. So that's coming to you. But before you leave the Harris Center, I need you to go back to the cafe and pick up your lunchbox. Now, if you had specific preference and allergies, your name is going to be on your box. So look for your name. If you had no preference or NA, then you're free to pick whatever's there that doesn't have anybody else's name on it. Right? Don't take somebody else's stuff. That's the thing. So, okay. I had to teach my kids. Anyway, I still have to teach my kids that. Don't take my stuff. You know what I'm saying? Don't take my stuff. So, when you go to the refrigerator, I have to share this with you. When you go to the refrigerator, you know you're saving something in there and then it's gone. How many of you have kids? Okay, you know what I'm talking about then. You know. Yeah, even the sticky note doesn't matter, Paula. Even that doesn't matter. So we're gonna leave a little early today. Takima, did you want to say anything? Any final thoughts or anything? No, just want to thank you all for being here today. I'm so happy to see you. I'm so happy you're here. And so if you go out to the hall, you go back to the cafe area, grab your lunch, and head to the students are going to be out there to take you to. I'm going to have a few students saying, I'm taking you this way, and our faculty host will also take you to their rooms. Thank you.